I'm Marin, and this is Post-its and Pens.
Stumbling home, we don't know where we're going. Should've turned back hours ago.
Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin, and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. In today's video, I am going to take you through my September reading recap featuring the books that I read as part of Becca's bookoplathon and G's magical readathon. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So September was not the best reading month for me. I only finished 7 books, and I will say up front, I did not complete my bookoplathon TBR. You can see the remaining books of that TBR right here behind me. It is what it is. I'm a teacher, so things were kind of stressful, very exhausting, and I just didn't do as much reading as I was hoping to. That being said, I did still read 7 books. So it's not a total loss. I am going to indicate where they fit into prompts as I talk about them. So there were some that were left over from my August TBR, which did not pertain to bookoplathon or the magical readathon in the slightest. So I will mention that. I will also mention what prompts anything may have fulfilled as I mentioned. So here we go with the first book that I finished in September. So book number 1 for September was A Mad Wicked Folly by Sharon Biggs Waller. This was a leftover from August, and it is a historical fiction book set in London. The main character, Vicky, is away at school in France where she falls in with a group of artists. She decides to pose nude for these artists, and her family finds out, brings her back home, and she's kind of in disgrace. All Vicky wants is to live her own life. She wants to go to art school. She wants to be a well-known artist. Her family is not okay with that. This is like early 1900s, I believe, maybe late 1800s. I can't quite remember. But basically, her family is completely against this. They want her to get married, have children, and do what she's supposed to do. So basically, this is Vicky's tale of trying to find her way in life. It features the suffragist movement in England. She meets a colorful cast of characters. She finds her own muse in a working class guy. And I really, really enjoyed this one, even though it took me forever to read. So I really enjoyed this. As I mentioned, I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend it if you like stubborn female characters who work for what they want, and that is definitely what Vicky does, and I really, really enjoyed it, so I would recommend this one definitely. Book number 2 for September was a bookoplathon pick. This one was for the name buzzword, so it had things like man, woman, that kind of thing, but also names fell into this. And for this prompt, I read Bitter Blue by Kristen Kishore. So this is the 3rd book in the Graceling series, and this follows Bitter Blue, who is queen of her country. The country is recovering from 30 plus years of mind control at the hands of Bitter Blue's father, Luck. And there are a lot of strange things happening in Bitter Blue City, which is what they call the city. And she is basically trying to unweave all of these mysteries, figure out what the heck is going on. And I really enjoyed this one. I'm a fan of puzzles. There were mentions of ciphers and secret journals and secret story rooms. All of that was right up my alley. So I really, really enjoyed this. It is very, very long. I can see why some people did not like this one as well as the first 2, but I really enjoyed it. It worked perfectly for me. I did listen to the majority of this on audio, which had a really great narrator, and in the end I gave this one 4 stars. So I would recommend the Graceling series if you haven't read it. So yeah, definitely liked this one. Okay, book number 3 for September was another carryover from August, and that was Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. Now, I had read Then She Was Gone a few months ago. I really, really liked that one, so I had kind of high expectations for Invisible Girl. However, I did not like this one as well as Then She Was Gone. I felt like this one moved very, very slowly, considering that it's supposed to be like thriller-esque. I never connected to any of the point of view characters in the way that I was meant to. It just wasn't very engaging. So what kept me reading was my curiosity to see how it was going to end. But this book took me a very long time to read, and it should not have done that because it is a thriller. It's supposed to move faster. And yeah, I just really didn't enjoy this one. I also did not like the ending. I felt like it was very unsatisfying. And in the end, I gave this one 3 stars merely because the overall plot of it was interesting. It was just the execution was not what I was wanting from the story, if that makes sense. So your mileage may vary, but this one didn't really work for me. Okay, book number 4 for September was another pick for bookoplathon and also for the magical readathon. So this was a prompt for, I believe it was Tower of Rumination for the magical readathon, which was a 5-star prediction. And for Becca's bookoplathon, it was my hyped pick. Now, this one had received a lot of really great reviews, a lot of great press when it was first released. So I was really looking forward to this, and that book was All the Rage by Courtney Summers. So this book follows Rami, who was raped by the sheriff's son. And basically the book is all about the fallout of her speaking out and telling the truth. She is shunned by everyone around her. She loses all of her friends. Everyone believes that she's a liar. And it just details kind of the unfortunate truth that many sexual assault and rape victims face when they speak out about what happened to them. So in that respect, it was a very important topic. I don't feel like this is something that's talked very much about, especially in YA books. So I feel like the topic was very, very good. However, I never connected with Rami, and in fact, I did not like her the vast majority of the time while reading this. I think you were supposed to feel for her, but I was only feeling for like what happened to her and how it affects other people. I never really, I don't want to say I didn't care, but I just didn't feel the emotional impact that I think I was meant to because she was so unpleasant. I really didn't like her narration at all. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but this book just didn't work for me because I never connected with Rami, which was, I think, the main point of the book. I just more or less felt emotional about the fact that people really do go through this. I never connected that to Rami herself, if that makes sense. So anyway, I gave this one 3 stars. I do think it's a very important book. It did work for a lot of people who weren't me, but this just was not my favorite book on the topic. I feel like there are some other ones that I made that connection with a bit better, and yeah, this one was just kind of okay. Book number 5 for September was another magical readathon prompt, and this one was for, I can't remember what the prompt was. I'll put it like down on the bottom, but basically it needed to have a map. So it was a book with a map, and that book was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys, and y'all, I loved this one. This was my favorite book of the month. I pride myself on knowing my history pretty well, but this book tells the true story of the Lithuanian, Latvian, basically this people from the Baltic nations who were uprooted and sent to Siberian work camps once Stalin reincorporated their countries into the Soviet Union. What I did not realize was that this was happening alongside World War II. So you had the deportation of the Jewish people from Nazi Germany, and then the deportation of the Baltic peoples from the Soviet Union to Siberia, and they were happening concurrently, and I didn't realize that was when that actually happened. So this book follows Lena and her family. They are sent to a Siberian work camp. It's her mom, herself, and her little brother, and it just details kind of the trials and tribulations that they are forced to go through simply because Stalin wants to kind of eradicate the people from the Baltic nations. And there's a lot of definitely like some emotions. I teared up at several parts. Lena is a fantastic narrator, and the story was just very heart-wrenching and gripping, and I loved it. So I gave this one 5 stars. I have other books by Ruta Sepetys that I am looking forward to reading, especially now that I read Between Shades of Grey, because it was phenomenal, and I would highly recommend it. Yeah, book number 6 is going to be another unpopular opinion. I'm sorry, y'all. Book 6 was All's Well by Mona Awad, and this book was just weird, and not weird in a good way. It was a very good, very accurate portrayal of what someone who has chronic pain goes through on a daily basis. That part was extremely well written. However, Miranda, the main character, was incredibly unlikable. I talked more about this one in my dedicated reading vlog for this book, which I will link up in the cards, but I just did not like her at all. Midway through this book takes a hard dive into the magical realism realm, and when you combine that with the fact that Miranda is a very unreliable narrator, it just made the book very confusing for me. I could not figure out what was real, what was not. I just had a hard time with this one. I know that Mona Awad is like an author that a lot of people really love. This was the first book I'd read by her. I didn't read Bunny, and based on my feelings for All's Well, I'm not going to. I just don't think she's an author for me. And in the end, I gave this one only 2 stars. I just did not like this one. But obviously, I'm probably like an island unto myself with that opinion, but it is what it is. Okay, and the last book, book 7 for the month of September, was The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, and I really enjoyed this one as well. So I am a big fan of taking fairy tales, folk tales, classic tales, and kind of twisting them on their head, and that is what this book, this series, does. So this book is narrated mostly by Mary Jekyll, daughter of Dr. Jekyll from the classic tale. She meets a cast of female characters, all of whom are descended from other classic tales. So Mr. Hyde, The Island of Dr. Moreau, Frankenstein. And basically, it's a found family story. These girls find each other. They make their own family. I loved that. I also really love mysteries, as I mentioned, and that's what this is. They are trying to solve the cases of, it's Jack the Ripper, okay, but they aren't calling it Jack the Ripper. So it's the murders of the victims of Jack the Ripper, and they're trying to solve this, trying to figure out what actually is going on. There are visits from Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I just thought this one was so much fun. I did listen to this one on audio. The audio was really, really great. I would recommend it. And in the end, I gave this one 4 stars, and I am very excited to read the second book. This one was so much fun. If you have not read it yet, check it out, because I think you'll really love it. And those were the 7 books that I read in September. This was kind of rapid style. I was trying to go kind of quickly so this video would not take forever. But yeah, that is what I read in September. As I mentioned, I did not complete my bookoplathon TBR. I did complete my TBR for the Magical Readathon, but yeah, it was kind of a fail in respect to the readathon, but I still did what I could, so we'll call that a win, because if I get any reading done at all, honestly, it's pretty good considering how tired I've been the first 2 months of school. Teaching kindergarten is hard, y'all. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, everyone.
Out of our minds, I guess we're sleeping outside. You're still a good time, even in